Hi everyone, this is Laura from Migraine Australia. Today we have a very special guest on the other side of the line. We've got Briar all the way from Auckland, New Zealand. Briar suffers from vestibular migraine and has just started her very first support group. So welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and sort of what you're doing over in Auckland.
Thank you. I have just been recently diagnosed within the last 3 weeks, but I have been suffering from vestibular migraines since April last year. Been through so many different doctors, seen the specialist, and finally now have that diagnosis of vestibular migraines. So when I first was diagnosed, I joined all these large group ones of people in America and the UK, and I was like, I don't understand half of this stuff. They've got different medications, different food things. There must be more of us from New Zealand out there. And so I created a page for vestibular migraine and then in New Zealand, and then I was like, no, that's very secluded. There must be more of us. Like, I need to make that bigger, to Migraine New Zealand support group. And we now have 15 of us that I found through different support groups, and we all are now on the New Zealand migraine support group, which at this stage is basically just me talking, but we do have a few people, other people's stories. We have talking about food, medication, and the journey of other people in this having this very debilitating illness.
Now, you sort of mentioned before about the support groups that you had previously joined. So I had a very similar story, as we were sort of discussing before. Do you find that the people that have joined the support groups are much like you? They've been looking for answers sort of within the same type of community, but they haven't been able to find it. How do you find the interaction within your group?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of people that are just sitting watching, and I think we also have a few people from Australia who were originally born here or born in Australia and now are here, and there is a few people that just watch and like and creep a little bit, but then there's a few people that are out there and being like, I'm so glad that you've made this. I'm so glad that we've found another page that is people like us Kiwis. So yeah, it's been amazing, actually.
Oh, that's so great. And so tell us about, before you had mentioned that it was actually a doctor that you had seen that diagnosed you with vestibular migraine. What do you think the awareness and the education around migraine is like over in New Zealand?
There's nothing. I found at this stage. I know we do have like the headache and the brain clinic type thing. However, that is very generalized, and that is a little section of people. However, I believe that there is more people that suffer from migraines, not just chronic or vestibular or things like that. There's just general people, because I originally was just diagnosed with migraines about 6 years ago, and I had one roughly every month, and then they stopped for a while, and then it came in to be vestibular migraines. So there isn't a lot of us. I was told at my first appointment, cut out the chocolate, alcohol, and cheese. That was my first 3 things that I was told about. And I was like, surely there's going to be more to that. What is causing it? I need to know more information, and dietary things and medication. I was never ever suggested back then that I would be put on medication, that there wasn't even availability for that. So people that are going through that first time, it's this new diagnosis, and they kind of have to find their own feet, like walking again.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. It really is.
Yeah, and it is like that as well. I mean, before you had also mentioned that you had to do actually a lot of your own research. When you went to find information about that, where did you go to seek that information?
So I ended up going to Google, which led me to a lot of places in America and the UK, a lot of blogs, a lot of different pages from the UK. And then I kind of went to YouTube and had a little look on there. I found a few people that do dietary things. Then I found like different like yoga workouts that don't always trigger me, which is what I like. So I kind of covered all my bases that I possibly could think of. And none of them, some of them didn't help me. Some of them definitely helped me. Some of them have led me again down my own path of creating my own support group for New Zealand, so that there is more information, there is more things out there for people.
And now what about like your support people in your life? Like, did people in your life understand? Because obviously you're saying that the awareness around the education of migraine isn't there. So how must that be then for people over in New Zealand and having to explain that to people in their lives? How did you go with that?
So I had my mum and my boyfriend along there with me for most of the journey. I had my mum in the first few stages with me in all my doctor's appointments. And I found that it's very sad, but I found that the doctors listened more when I had that extra support person, that elder person with me. And it wasn't until I saw my specialist and he talked to both me and my boyfriend when we were both there. Me as I'm the sufferer of it, but my boyfriend and what he can do to help me, to support me in the ongoing journey that is coming. I have a few people in my life that don't really care, that don't really understand it or want to understand it. And I definitely am, that's okay. It's up to everyone's choices. However, I want to make sure that people out there know that they aren't alone. So when I realized that it was actually Migraine Awareness Month, I was like, I'm going to start posting on my personal Facebook page to inform people that I'm friends with on Facebook what goes on with me, as to why they haven't seen me for almost the last year out and about at social events. And things like that. So I did that, and I've had amazing feedback from a lot of friends, people that have come out and said, I'm going through the same situation with my doctor. I don't have vestibular migraines, but they don't know what's wrong with me. But I have the same sort of symptoms that you have. And that there's a lot of younger people out there. That was my biggest thing, that I was so young. And I'm like 22, so I was like, I can't go out drinking with my mates. Like, what is my new life? So that has been the biggest thing, and I've had to let people go because they don't understand, they don't want to know. But for me, this is my new journey and this is my life. So I need to go forward and try when I can to communicate with people and tell them what it is like, or things they can do to help. But it's very hard to get that communication line across without coming across as, this is me, like, listen to me, you need to accept this. It needs to be sort of in there both. But I do have a very supportive, close network that do support me and help me, which is really good.
I think that's such a big thing as well. You touched on it before around you have to let people go. I remember having a conversation with actually girlfriends that I have made through the journey. And I'm just like, well, they're people that haven't stayed. They're not our people.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I sort of look back on it and I think, obviously my migraine turning into a vestibular migraine has been a journey, but I sort of wouldn't have it any other way now. Like, being a lot further along, I sort of can understand that it was exactly what my life needed to put me back into balance. Vestibular being around balance and people not understanding that because they think, oh, migraine, it's just a headache. And Absolutely. it's that real, how many times have you heard, we spoke about it before, have a Panadol, have a lie down, have a water, and it's that stigma around, oh, you're just overreacting. Whereas I think when you accept that, hang on a minute, this is not okay. I think half of it is accepting that this is the diagnosis at hand and you're okay with it. And it's sort of being able to move forward with that. So tell us, if people would like to join your group, how do they find, like, even you and your personal Instagram, or how do they find your group? So tell us those details.
Absolutely. So on Instagram, I'm Get Healthy Hope. It started as a journey of health for me, and then it kind of has now turned into my vestibular migraine journey. But it's all about health and lifestyle going forward with this vestibular migraines, and journey of food, wellness, self-care, people, everything that goes with that, and the journey that goes up and down. And then on Facebook, it's a support group of, I think at the moment it's Vestibular Migraine New Zealand. And I can just accept you, even if you're not, even if you don't just have vestibular migraines. It's for any Kiwis or wannabe Kiwis out there that want that that Kiwi support and guidance as to what to do next with their journey and their diagnosis of migraines.
Amazing. Well, do you want to end it with a message of hope? So for people that are at the beginning of their journeys, something that maybe you had wished someone had told you when you were going through it.
Yeah, we can do that. You aren't alone. There is people out there supporting you through every step of the way. It's about finding them and realizing that this is not a straight path of going upwards. You will have days when it's down and you feel sad and lonely and gloomy, but know that there's always tomorrow.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today. We look forward to following your journey and having you involved in some of the Migraine Australia events. But no, a really exciting space for New Zealand. So continue doing what you're doing. And as I said, we can't wait to follow your journey.
Awesome. Thank you.